Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood. I'm delighted to be joined with Ida with her fantastic film, Bay Beach. Let's take another clip. Ida, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the New Filmmakers LA family and bringing Bay Beach to us. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of the animation.
Well, it's an experimental 3D film about kind of toxic tourism and specifically about kind of the country of Croatia, which has been controlled by countries like ever since the beginning, and this is just the new wave of it, which is, you know, with neon t-shirts and 100 kunas, which is equivalent to maybe $20 of like a liter of this much alcohol. So
I mean, it's listen, firstly, thanks for bringing this film and this concept, and I love your imagination and also the sense of humor as well in the film, but also some really kind of strong contexts of like how things have been impacted in Croatia too in the style of animation. Where was that pinpoint for you of that inspiration where you're like, I want to turn this idea into a film?
Well, I've been going there ever since I was like a child, and like it was always with other Croatian. So I'm a Croatian American, so there was always a dissonance between that, but there was such a warmth being back in my home country, and then just to slowly see that deteriorate and like these. I remember like being a kid one time and there's just like drunk men in the water just bobbing and you're just like, what is going on? And
Wow.
It just caused a whole shift, and I just had that energy like inside me. I was like, I need to release it somehow, and then it became this film.
And as you say, it's something really important as well. Do you feel like as well this happened since the beginning of like the forming of Croatia as well? Like, did that something you noticed?
Like I started doing research on it because I mean, it was like the Romans specifically the island of Pog, like the Romans had taken over it. It might be a little dark, but Nazi Germany took it over and they made it into concentration camps as well.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, and then the Yugoslavian war, and then so Croatia finally got Pog. And then a couple of years later, just one, I think it's German, I might be dissing the Germans the whole time, but it's this like, just industry. It was like, let's build these clusters, it's cheap, it's like, and then it forced the whole island to conform to their expectations, really.
Yeah. Well, firstly, your sense of style of this animation is so good. It's so unique and so brilliant. And then the characters you form, like, oh my goodness, I want like a TV series with them. Like, they're so good. Tell us a little bit about the main character and also kind of the style in which you filmed your animation, because it was really great to watch, especially on the big screen.
Oh yeah, it was incredible seeing it on there. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I had this, again, being a first generation or second generation, I don't know the actual terminology, but the being dissonant and not being kind of comfortable in this country and not being comfortable in my home country, like you're kind of in the ocean, and so
yeah,
I was like, mermaids are usually in the ocean,
yeah,
but I was like, I don't want it to be flopping around, so
yeah.
might as well make it reverse. And it's also just a little easier to animate because then you just have to do a little Muppet. But I just love having it. I love doing that. When I did tests for it, I did like lip synced it to like a Grease song, and it was just the emotion you can really do with like just very limited animation. And I just like having this low poly style. I feel like I am technically educated in the medium of Maya and like 3D, but I purposely choose to make it like kind of square and a little like rigid, but even still flowy and it's moving.
Yeah. How was it creating the script for this film?
I mean, gosh, I think that was the hardest thing because I was always worried that I was going to be becoming too preachy about it. I think at first there was a lot more rage, and then people were like, try to find the benefits. And then I was like, so then there's that segment of like the road.
Yeah.
Like they built streets because of, you know, the tourism, and so you can think that, but it's like, but that just caused more people to come because it's like, oh, it's easier for us to travel, and it's like this double-edged sword. And so like I throw that in, and then it's kind of back to angry, and then there is an acceptance. But I mean, because of COVID, that has now changed it again, because they relied on quantity more than quality, and now because they basically lost all of their sales for a whole year.
Yeah.
And also like including not just this club company, but like the natives, because they based their whole salary on like tourism. So, and that's the problem, because these companies, they don't care about the actual people who are living there, and despite there is like a benefit, it will collapse as soon as they're not profitable.
Yeah, just capitalism, right? Obviously.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. What's it? I mean, making this project, and I think it's got, you know, we don't often see something that's, you know, got really, you know, very strong values in how this kind of part of the planet, part of Croatia got kind of upset, you know, with it being taken over in such a way. What's the reaction been like for you so far?
Like how audience have Well, it's not just Croatia. I think maybe some people might find it easier to sympathize with, you know, as a problem. I mean, there's so many countries, like Jamaica has a similar problem. I mean, similar what's always happened in Jamaica, Hawaii, like all of those, but like where people create resorts, so they enclose their tourists. That's what's also happening now in Croatia as well. So that's gonna again damage the. So I think it's a message that's not new, but it's interesting seeing it in this country. Like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you think every like club has conquered every section have made their empire, but they just found this like extremely rocky island.
Yeah.
Like there actually used to be a lot of trees, but Venice, they actually chopped down a lot of Croatian landscape to like build the pillars to like keep the city afloat, which are now deteriorating. Wow. So it's like this island, this country has been like abused by so many parties. So.
No, you're right about that. As a you know, visual artist and as an animator, like what was the most challenging thing you had to experience from making this project?
The thing that comes to mind was there was a technical thing where it was like the longest shot, which is like, I don't remember, I want to say it's like 40 seconds long, and it's the boardwalk section, and there was a section that just kept crashing, and I was like I didn't have too many 3D advisors, so I had to try to figure it out on my own, and then turns out there's like other rules I've never heard of in 3D, where it's like you can't put multiple textures on one object, and I was like, what? I've been doing that for years. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop. So I was like, we're gonna fix this, and we did, and it looks great. But yeah, that was the hardest part about 3D is just like the rendering part.
The render, I'm sure it's the most tedious part for sure. I just love your style of animation, and I really do love your natural essence of humor that you brought to it as well, which is also amazing, as well as it being, you know, difficult subjects. So I'm curious, like, what is next for you?
Well, I'm trying to make another film. I'm kind of doing something about, you know, trans identity and loneliness, and again, it's just about getting that script and then getting voice actors and like whatnot. But I mean, after watching everyone's films at this festival, I just feel like so motivated to start going at it again.
Oh, good. That's always nice when you see other people's work and it you know, it motivates you for sure. You know, I'm really like we've had so many fantastic animations, including yours, at the festival. Last night was part of a very special program for international animation, just seeing the worldwide scope of animators. And you know, I'm just curious for where you are in your career thus far. Like, what advice do you have to any, you know, people that are wanting to go either into animation or try and develop their film? Do you have any kind of advice that you go by?
Let me look at if I can't. No,
just
zoom in. Gosh, my number one thing I think is kind of live more than animate.
Yeah.
Animation is such a tedious profession. That's another tip. You have to be prepared to be bored so often. Like I'm pretty sure I watched my film 600 times.
Yeah.
And that's why watching it now, I was like, after like 2 years of not watching it, I was like, oh, it's good. Okay. But you have to prepare to like, it's a tedious profession and you'll have to look at the same thing over and over again. You have to draw the same thing over and over again. But once you get into it, it gets easier. But it's important to have a life outside of it because you can't create without having inspiration.
Absolutely.
If you're just sitting inside and you're like, I need to animate something, it's like you need a visual stimulation as well.
Don't hear that very often, but that's really, really important as well. Well, listen, I'm very grateful you brought, Bay Beach to us. It was really great to get an insight on that story, and I'm so glad that you got inspiration. But welcome to the New Filmmakers family, so thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.